Now let's talk about the title for Kim Huybrechts at the weekend. As we mentioned, it's a first title in the PDC for the Hurricane in 8 years. How important could that win be for him going forward, and how close is he to being back to his best?
Yeah, it was a long time between drinks for Kim Huybrechts. And, you had a couple close calls. He missed, a year after his most recent title, he missed, was it 5 match starts in the final against Mensur Suljovic when Suljovic won his first title, and Suljovic only went on to win 8 more. 7 more after that, including a major, including a bunch of Euro tours, while Kim Huybrechts languished. But there's been a lot of signs over the last 2 years that Huybrechts was coming back. I didn't necessarily think he'd win the title on Saturday, but I knew he had a title in him the way he'd been playing. And it was a brilliant run along the way. His second match against the young Irishman who had made a semifinal the previous weekend, Dylan Slevin. Then he beat Nathan Aspinall, who we know is playing well, averaged over 100 in that. Beat Ricardo Pietreczko, and that's one that it might not sound like that much, but Pikachu's 25th in averages so far this year. He's been playing very, very quietly well to start the year, and leaves a lot of questions. He's also won through to his first Euro Tour as a tour card holder in a couple weeks' time. And then he beat Josh Rock. I don't know if anyone has heard of him. Gurin Price, don't know if anyone's heard of him. And Gabriel Clemens, who loses yet another final. And I didn't mention the first round, where he only averaged 112. Kim Huybrechts is obviously playing well. The 3 people to defeat him so far this year in Players' Championship events, 2 of them I mentioned in the last question as someone to look out for in Kiel, Johnny Clayton and Richard Veenstra. The other, I won't mention him now because I'm going to mention him in a couple questions time, but is someone who is really also rebounding this year. Kim Huybrechts is just playing very, very good stuff. He needed a good start to the year. Before this run on Saturday, he was not currently in the World Match Play spots, or not then currently. He obviously is now with the title, but he wasn't that far out. The big question for him going forward is, does he take this form into TV matches and back on the Euro Tour stage consistently? Where he really dropped off was, you go back when he was in that Premier League the last time. If I remember correctly, he didn't win a match, but he had a bunch of draws, and he just couldn't get over the line. And I think that derailed him. He lost some confidence. I know, Alex, you just talked to him. I haven't heard the interview yet. So maybe this all speculation is completely wrong and he'll contradict everything I said. But my hunch is that he lost a bit of confidence out of that Premier League, out of some other matches he had on TV after that, because he would get himself into position, but he couldn't find a way to cross the line. And then that turned over and he had similar problems on the floor. Now he has that confidence back. If he can take this when he's back on the Euro Tour, when he's back on television matches later this year, and turn those winning positions into wins, I think he'll kick on. And obviously winning a title will give him confidence that he can do that. But I think there are still some questions to see what he does from here. He's obviously a very, very talented player. He's not a 2-time Premier League participant by accident. He's not a player who was in the top 16 for a few years, as highest number 12 in the world, on accident. He reached that because he is a very gifted player. And now if he has that confidence again, we could see him start climbing and causing a storm like a hurricane does.
I like it. And yeah, as you mentioned, I did just speak to Kim Huybrechts around about an hour or so ago when we're recording this. You guys listening to the show, you'll have just heard from Kim, so I don't want to repeat everything that he said in the interview, but he's someone that you can just tell from his voice. He's someone that is brimming with confidence now after that title at the weekend, and someone that's been through a lot of changes in his career over the last few years. You go back 2 or 3 years and he changed his management, he changed his manufacturers. As he said to me, he literally started from scratch, started from zero, wanted to change everything. And one of the simple things, I guess, that's changed in the last few weeks is having his big brother Ronnie there with him, because as he said, when he's playing in these matches on the floor, he can look to his brother, and his brother doesn't have to do anything, doesn't have to give any noises or any sounds or anything. He can just tell from the way Ronnie's looking at him what to do and what he needs to do in the game. So I think having Ronnie there has definitely been a factor for him in these last couple of weeks, but he's someone that we have seen start to make a few strides forwards in these last few years. He's pushed Gerwyn Price close in the World Championship a couple of years ago, at a game that we spoke about earlier, and also last year getting past Peter Wright. And okay, that game is a game that neither of those two players hit anywhere near their top game, but even in those situations, the biggest tournament in the world, you're going up against the defending champion who's not on his top form at all. He's not at the races. You've still got to get the job done. And Kim Huybrechts, to his credit, he was able to do that night. And okay, his next game against Dimitri Van den Bergh, him himself didn't find it his top level in that game and went out of the tournament. But little things like that, getting wins like that, he is coming back. And the last couple of weekends, the first two Pro Tour weekends, we've seen him lose with some big averages, a 97 and a 98 in the first two Players' Championships. I think there was a 102, 103 in the first Euro Tour qualifiers after that. But the run to the title, there were some dips along the way. He started off with 112 average in his first game, and it's going to be difficult for any player to keep that level going up for the rest of the day across 7 games. But did dip into the low 90 averages. But one of the things that I took from those games was that the way that when he needed to, he was able to find the gears. And that's probably something that maybe has been missing from his game in the past, which has seen him drop down the rankings. But finding that time and again, finding that big leg, the big finish when it is needed, or that big run of legs is something that is coming back into his game, and is something that you do need against these top players when you're maybe not performing at your best level, not towards that 100 average, and you're averaging in the low 90s. It is when you're able to find those good legs, and did it against Nathan Aspinall, had a pair of 11 darters, a 12 darter to wrap it up in the end. And the game against Josh Rock, he got pegged back from 5-1 to 5-all, finds a 13 darter in the decider. And the game against Gerwyn Price in the semi-final, 3 legs all, the 7th leg, Gerwyn Price really did drop off in that leg, and Kim Huybrechts, he took advantage. He won it and then won the next 3 all in 5 visits. So that's some good signs for me. And even in the final as well, he made the most of some missed doubles from Gabriel Clemens, and there probably was some nerves from both sides in that final, because Gabriel was looking for his first title, Kim his first title in a long time, and Kim was the one who was able to settle those nerves, make the most of those early chances. And yeah, I think he'll know there's more to come. He won't be satisfied with winning this title and still being ranked, 28, 29 in the world. He won't be satisfied until he is much higher up the rankings, maybe towards that top 16, Pro Tour top 16. But winning a title, like you say, it's a big step in the right direction, and it shows that the work that he's putting in is starting to pay off now.